Good evening, everybody. It's your girl, Miss Eha, coming live with Journey with Trish, the podcast, right here from Mobile, Alabama. I am so excited tonight to be sitting in the room, as per usual, with Black excellence. You know, you got to be to sit at the table with me. Very sensitive topic tonight. Go ahead and throw out our trigger warning. We're going to be talking about grief tonight. We have with us three mothers who have lost their sons. And so, if you cannot take this topic right now, we totally understand. We come here tonight to be a blessing to someone. We come here tonight to pour into a lot of people, we hope, but we understand if you can't take that right now. If you know someone who's dealing with some grief, please take this opportunity to like, comment, follow, share, so that we can reach as many people as we can this episode. Before I get started, as always, my medical disclaimer: neither myself, Patricia Reed, aka Ms. Ehada Jimenez, is here to give you any type of medical or psychiatric advice tonight. If you're having any type of emergencies like that, I'll defer you to your emergency room or call your own primary care provider or psychiatric provider because I am not your provider tonight. Okay? Let's go ahead and get some introductions going. Over here to my left, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nettie Edwards. I'm from Silver Hill, Alabama.
And over here.
I'm Betty Jemison, and I'm from Foley, Alabama.
And joining us on the screen, who do we have?
Hi, my name is Johnny Mae Robinson. I am from Brooklyn, New York.
All the way from Brooklyn, New York. Johnny, so this is family. Everybody here for me tonight is family. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. Let's go ahead. What we're going to do first is I'll kind of let you discuss who we're here to discuss. Johnny Mae, we're going to start with you because your story actually goes back very far. You've actually lost two sons.
Yes.
Yes. So tell us about your first son.
So let's see. It's amazing, when I go back and I think about the story, 1999. And then what's so ironic? Me and his name was Karan. We had a conversation prior, and I had asked him. I said, I need you to um kind of change over, do some new things in your life so that you can have a heritage and a legacy and leave something behind. And I also told him he was getting ready to turn 21. I said, oh, we want to have this big party for you, you're gonna be 21. And he was like, nah, we're not gonna have no party because all you're gonna do is invite your friends and your family, our cousins and stuff, and it ain't gonna be like no real party. I said, yeah, no, we want to have a party. So that was in February. So we were able to come down to family reunion. This was the first family reunion that I think we all attended. This is how amazing God is. He saw every last one of his cousins, his aunts, his great grandparents, the month of April, right before Easter, because we were all down there. And I came home. We came back home, and we were all excited about being home and about the family reunion. And I went to church on Sunday. And on Sunday, I'm one of them ones like that prophecy thing. I kind of stay away from it. I don't like nobody coming up on me and prophesizing anything. And I was literally in the last pew that Sunday at my own church. And the bishop came all the way, I want to say probably like 22 pews, came all the way to me in the end on the corner and said to me that my life would never be the same again. And that was on a Sunday. That following Monday, no, that Sunday night, I came home. As usual, part usual, we say in this house, who loves you? My son was at the door. He said, who loves you, Ma? I said, I do. And those were the last words that I spoke to him. I got up that morning. I went to work. I crossed by him. He was outside in front of the building, crossed by him. And I looked at him and I didn't say anything to him. And I went on. I went to work that day. I worked a full day. I'm driving the car. I'm on the highway and I hear on the radio, young man got shot. A young man got shot. There was some incidents going on and stuff like that. And I said to myself, I said, wow, another mother lost her child. This was at 9:30 a.m. as I was driving to work. unknowingly that it was my son that had gotten shot. I worked the full day. I don't know what happened. I didn't, technology was there. I think I had a beep, I had a phone. I was doing social services at the time, doing case management. Didn't answer the phone, nothing. By 4:30, I got a call saying they needed me to rush home. And they were so panicky. One thing I don't do, I don't panic. And they said, you need to hurry up and go home. There's something's happened. And I looked over to my coworker. She said, what do you think happened? I said, you know what? I said, so much stuff going on around in the area. I said, my son probably got shot in front of the building. Just casually like that. I didn't think nothing of it, but I had to go pick up my 6-year-old from school. So I stopped. I went, I picked up my 6-year-old because I said to myself, what be there when I get there? I went to pick up my 6-year-old. They had already called his school, talked to the principal. She was all panicky. She was saying, you okay? You okay? I'm saying, yeah, why? I said, why? Somebody called you? They said something? She said, no, no, no. Just call me when you get home. Let me know you're okay. I get home. I'm driving. I get home. 6-year-old is getting out the car, which is Gus, my baby son. And I see one of Karan's friends walking up. He's crying. He's all, he's hysterical. And I'm like, boy, what is wrong with you? He said, Mom, you ain't heard? I said, heard. And I see my father running toward me, and I see some other people. The building is crowded in front of my building where we live at, and I'm a little pissed off. I said, wow, they having something, and ain't nobody tell me. Like, it's a big thing going on. And nobody tell me. I got a little messed up. I said, so he said, Karan got shot. I see he got shot. I said, well, where he's at? He said, no, he said just blunt. He said, he's dead. I said, boy, I said, that is not a nice thing to say. I said, why would you say that about him? She said, no, Ma. And I saw my father running. And the only thing I could think about is what this pastor said to me Sunday. And I said to myself, I said, no, I said, no, this nigga didn't just knew this was going to happen and didn't tell me. All he said was my life was never going to be the same again. So
Wow.
my church is about, I want to say maybe 14 blocks. I immediately started running to the church. I said, I'm going to run. I'm going to the church. I done got my thug mode. I'm going to the church. Ran to the church, ran to the church. They must have called the church, told them I was coming to the church. I was running toward the church. Got there, saw the deacon. I said, yo, they trying to tell me that my son is dead. I said, Deacon turned. I said, this ain't happening. And I said, where's Bishop back? I said, because he said something to me yesterday, but he didn't give me no details. This is the first time he came downstairs. He looked into my eyes. I looked dead into this man's eyes. I said, and I looked at him. I said, wow. I said, you knew? He said, I didn't know the fullness of it. He said, but I knew there was something to come. And I was like, wow. So it was just so ironic because um, I'm looking at him and I just got a prayer partner. I said, probably in big denial. I said, yo, I just got a prayer partner. I just prayed with her this morning and we was praying together. She said she was gonna be praying for me and my family and how this happened. So she lived about 6 blocks. I ran to her home. I'm running to her home. I'm running to see her and I'm saying, her name is Pat. I said, Pat, I said, they had already called her. I said, Pat, they trying to tell me that Karan is dead. I said, but you said we were praying partners. You said you was gonna be praying for me and my family. And she said, I was, Johnny. I said, no, but they telling me he's dead. Like, that can't be happening. We've been praying. Like, how's that happening? And she said, yeah, they gave me a call. I said, nah, I'm still not feeling this. My brother and them, they finally found me. And they told me, they said, well, we already went to the morgue and we saw his body and this and that. So I'm looking at him and his father. I'm saying, they told me they saw a picture. I said, I saw a picture. I said, how did they show y'all a picture of the boy? That's my firstborn. That's all y'all went for that, a picture? Y'all didn't see no body or anything? That wasn't enough for me. I needed to go to the morgue. Went to the morgue, fussing with the medical examiner. And I looked at I said, listen, miss, I don't know if you have children. I don't know what's going on upstairs. I said, but you need to make sure in the next 15 minutes, because I don't know who you're going to have to call, that I'd be able to go up and see my son. Because I'm going to go up there and I'm going to take everybody out until I find him. So she came back down and she said, this is highly irregular, but I'm going to let you go up so you can see him. So now we get into this, there's a little foyer, there's a window. So now in my mind, because after a while, I'm hearing everybody saying he got shot here, this and that. They say he got shot in the head. So now by the time I get, now my brother and his father's there, by the time I get it, now I'm punking out because now my mom's saying, oh my God, he got shot in the head. Um, it's gonna be ugly. Like maybe his head is blown off. Now my mind is running. So now I'm punking out a little bit. But I said, no, I can't do this, Lord. You're gonna have to help me. She pulled the curtain back, and I tell you how merciful God is. The angelicness of how he looked, just like how he was born. That's the same way he looked in death, with an angelic smile. It was such a calmness and a smoothness. And all in my mind, I thought when the bullet hit him, he must have said, oh my God. And that's how God helped him. It wasn't tragic when the bullet hit him. So that at that particular point, it kind of eased me a little bit. And I probably was still in shock. Came home, a bunch of people, everybody was here. But I say all that to say is that prior to this, I had came in the house and I maybe 2 weeks prior, because he didn't want the birthday party, I put in a set of praying inside my home, and I was asking God to just, I said, I never gave him back to you. I've been so selfish, because I said, I love my sons. I've been very selfish. I said, I need to give them back because they're not mine. They don't belong to me, God. I need to give them back. And that's what I told God. And I say he's doing so many things out here in the street. I need him to be safe. And this is, I tell you, the power of the tongue. I said, God, whatever you do is going to be all right with me. That's what I told God. Not that I knew he was going to be so drastic. Not that I knew that he was going to do it, but he honored just what I said, because I told him whatever he did, it was going to be okay. So I couldn't be angry. I really couldn't be mad at God, because I asked to help and heal. And that's what he did. So that's what happened. So he's been deceased now. It happened in 1999. I think now it's 25 years. I do a lot of, sometimes I remember because I do a lot of counting. I don't count days, I count memories because they're a little bit better for me to kind of get through my time. And it eases me in that particular way. So
And
that's
you
what happened.
I hope that everyone heard what she said when she said that right there, because that's something that I say all the time is you got to make memories. You got to take these opportunities to make some memories with your family. So you heard Johnny Mae say that she does not count time. She counts memories. It is so important. We have access to so many more things that we didn't have 25 years ago. You don't got to go take the film out the camera anymore and go get your pictures printed out. So we have thousands of pictures that we have and videos of our family members. We can now hold on to their voices, through, used to be like once that I remember with my mom, like her voice was on her telephone.
When you deleted it.
Yeah, and when you deleted it, you were like, oh my gosh, like, but I have all these videos. So it's so important for everybody. Make those memories in those videos. So we're gonna come back, Johnny Mae.
Okay.
In just a minute. Miss Betty.
Yes.
You had a son too.
Yes.
Tell us about Tremaine.
Tremaine. And with his death, it was totally different from hers, because actually, I got to sit 45 days with him, because when the morning I took him to the hospital on January the 1st, he had a cold, and I kept telling him, I said, you need to get something for that cold and stop all that coughing. I said, so that evening, I think they went to Montgomery to watch some kids play basketball with the neighborhood basketball team. And but he was coughing when he came back, so he just kept coughing. So he got up and he said, Mom, can I take a bath in your tub? Because my tub is really deep. So I said, yeah, you can get a bath in my tub. So he took a bath in my tub, and after he got his bath, then he went back to his room. Then he came back and he got into bed with me. He said, I'm just gonna lay here a while before I go to sleep. And then I kept shaking. So he told me, So he told me, I'm getting up, going to get in my own bed. You keep shaking the bed. I said, well, okay. So earlier that, when I got up, about, I guess it was probably like, because we was off from work um, that day, and he was coughing, and he said, "Ma," he said, "I coughed up some blood." I said, "Well, you coughed up some blood." I said, "So don't you think we need to go to the hospital?" He was like, "Yes." So we went to the hospital that day, that Tuesday, and he he was good, and they ran all kinds of tests. And when he coughed blood, I knew I already had pneumonia. So after they got him checked in and stuff and checked him, she said he has double pneumonia. He has it in both of his lungs. She said, so we're actually going to put him in the hospital and get some antibiotics and stuff running in him. So his girlfriend came up and she sit with him, and I went home. And so later on, his breathing changed. So they put him on the step down from ICU. They didn't put him in ICU. They put him in the step down from ICU. So when they put him in a step down from ICU, she didn't even call me and tell me, because she thought, he's just not breathing good. So when I got up there that morning, he went in respiratory failure, and they put him in ICU, and they put him on a machine, and he said it's just to help him breathe for a couple of days. He said, but he's gonna be okay. So that's where we went from, and I think that was on a Wednesday. And then his sister got there. Shay got there like that Thursday, because they like 2 peas and apart. So she got there like that Thursday, and they still had him with the ventilator, on the ventilator stuff. But when they was here that weekend, he coded, and we didn't even know it was even anything that serious. But he coded, and he had coded twice before we could get to the hospital. And as a matter of fact, one of his classmates happened to be his nurse, and so he was about to have a hissy fit. And I'm a woman. I walk by faith. I believe in God, and I trust God for who He is. And so, I never got irate right then. I was like, he's gonna be okay. He's gonna be okay. And even until that, because that happened on a Saturday night, even that Sunday, my daughter said they said he wouldn't make it through the day. But I never heard them say that. That lets you know God will protect you from your own self.
Absolutely.
So I never even heard them say that. So later on, so we stayed there, and my one of my goddaughters kept talking to my daughter from California. She's a CP too. So they stayed in touch with one another. And so he went from there, and the guy came and talked to me. And then he said, I did remember him saying, then he said, if he make it through tonight, that was later over on Sunday evening. He said, we're going to flight him in the morning to Pensacola to Baptist. He said, and it was a new machine that had come out called an ECMO machine. Nobody down here had ever heard of it. So everybody was wondering what it was, but it was a machine that breathed for you. It rests your lungs, and it allows your heart to rest. So it was like they put a thing in him, and the blood, that transported the blood in and through and out of his body. But he actually, after that day, he actually lived 35 days after that day. But it was a rough road, and they kept saying he wasn't gonna wake up out of the coma. And then to show you another way that God protects you, my niece told me, she said, Auntie, she said the when they resuscitate him, she said it's so rough. She said they done did it twice to him. She said if he cold again, don't let them resuscitate him. And I said, and she talked to me. So I said, okay. So I signed the paper, do not resuscitate. But when they took him from South Baldwin Hospital to Pensacola, well, when he come off the airplane, he coded. But they had to resuscitate him because they couldn't find the papers I signed.
Jeez.
They could not find the papers that I signed, so they had to resuscitate him. Then they took him into surgery, and they did the stuff. They put him on the ECMO machine and stuff, and he lived. They say he would never wake up. But I think I took that like 7 days. On the 8th day, new beginning. The guy came. He was just a running. He said He said, Miss Betty, I need you in here. I need you in here. And the lady said, well, I done went down and looked for her like 3 times, and I ain't see that lady there. And she said she kept looking over me because she was looking for an older woman. I said, I am an older woman. He said, well, you don't look like the older woman. So we went down and he said, I believe I believe he's coming out of that coma. He said, because he's following command. He said, he squares my hand. He said, now let him squeeze yours. He squares my hand real tight. He said, I need you to go to the opposite side of the room. So I went to the opposite side of the room. And when I went to the opposite side of the room, his eyes followed me. He said, I knew it. This was one of his nurses there. And so they were talking about taking him off the machine that day, a couple of days before that. And my pastor had came and pastor said, well, he had just talked to me. And I said, well, the doctor had just talked to me. I said, well, this is my pastor. You can tell him whatever, you can explain to him what you just explained to me. And I told pastor, I walked away. I said, but I shall believe the report of the Lord. And that's when God told me to go home and turn my face to the wall. And that's what I did. And he added those days to his life. So we serve an awesome God.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And he came out of that, and he came all the way back. As a matter of fact, he came all the way back to himself. Because his girlfriend, she worked in Gulf Shores. We were in Pensacola. So she would go to work in the morning time and she would come back at night. And he knew she got off from work at 5 o'clock. He would look at his watch by 5:15. He got agitated. And he would be looking around and looking around. And then when she come in, he'd be like, so, he still had the track, so he couldn't talk. So he was like, why you so late? And then her phone kept ringing one night because she was training somebody. And she kept answering. He said, so it's so funny to ask her who keep calling your phone. God actually recovered him. God actually done everything that we asked him to do for him. God healed him because they said he would never make it. But they kept saying, that he's a miracle. He's a miracle. But something happened and he got an infection. And when they went back and had to go back in surgery, he caught it again and did severe brain damage to it. And even up until the day when the girls and I decided to take him off the machine, where the doctor told us, they said, well, he'll live 2 or 3 days. And I tell people all the time, man, do not have your life in their hand. God is the only one. He's the only giver and he's the only taker of life.
Right.
No man can give a life and no man can take a life except God allows. And so this particular day, they had already told us he would live 2 or 3 days. They said that we'll put him in a room. Everybody can come over and everybody can just sit and, and be in the room with him. They took him off at 3 o'clock, Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. At 5, they took him out. No, they didn't. They took him off at 5 o'clock, which is grace. And at 8 o'clock, in 3 hours, which 8 is a new beginning. So he had a new beginning at 8 o'clock because
now
they couldn't even believe he had passed. They're like, we just cannot believe it. Because they had predicted 36 hours. But God said, no, 3 hours. And God said, this is his new beginning. And so, we have beautiful memories of him. We laugh and talk so much back because he was so funny. We just was laughing about it the other day. A friend of mine, she was there. And she said, every time I go by the cemetery, she said, I be want to stop and say, man, get up. So what? She said, because she said he got me with that $5,000 hospital bill because she had took some medicine and we couldn't wake her up. So Tremaine said, stand her up, mama. So I stood her up. And so she leaned and she was falling. He said, call the ambulance. So we called the ambulance and she said, got her with that big hospital bill. So, but we have great memories of him. He has 2 granddaughters. He has 3 daughters. His oldest daughter was military. His middle daughter is a RN. And his baby girl she's going to school now to be a teacher. She's married to a pastor.
Wow, nice.
So God is good anyway.
Beautiful. Wow, beautiful. Jesus.
Yeah, in spite of.
And the part that I'm going to speak in on what you said about that is the part that I used to be I was an ICU nurse. And if I didn't learn anything else working in the ICU, I have had many people sign DNRs, which means do not resuscitate. When they say withdraw treatment, when your faith is where your faith is, God is not in the ventilator.
That's
Right.
right.
God is not in the drips.
Yes.
Come
Say that.
It
on.
is not. You can disconnect all of it, and that's when
Yes.
we see where your faith really
Yes.
lies. When you say turn it off and let me
Mhm.
see just what
Let me
Yeah.
work.
God can do. And I'm
Absolutely.
telling you, I have seen people walk out that I never would have imagined
Right.
would have walked out, and this was
Mm.
after we had turned everything off. I had
God.
one lady that was like 80-something years old. We had turned everything off, and her last meal she wanted Burger King. I remember sneaking to Burger King to get her a burger for her last meal. I asked her if was there anything else she wished she would have done. She said, "I wish I would have went to church more." That's exactly what she said. I saw her granddaughter at the Chinese restaurant like 6 months later. I said, "You know how you're just kind of dancing around and stuff?"
Yeah.
He said, "Trish," and I said, He said, "Grandma's still kicking." Grandma was still kicking 6 months later. So God is not in the ventilator.
Absolutely not.
You ready, Miss Nettie?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tell us about BJ. Tell us about Bing.
Bing Crosby.
Funny Bean.
Bing was a different character. Bing,
He was messy.
Bing passed away. He left here or transitioned June 11th of 22 in a jet ski accident. He was doing something that he loved to do. He loved the water. And it's so ironic that we were in Miami and he was in Texas. We were getting ready to board a ship for our family cruise. And while getting to the dock, we learned that my cousin son was just killed. And getting on the boat, it was devastating to hear that news. And he was CJ. As we got on the boat, we did our family thing as we got on the ship, and having fun that entire day. I heard from Bing that morning about 5:50, and the only thing he asked me is, "Hey, Mom, what's our cat's daughter's name?" And my reply to him was Pam. And that's who he was so inquisitive about his family. But later that night, we had a wonderful time boarding and everything. And later that night, someone came to my room. Kim came to my room and says, "Hey, the family needs you to go up on deck 15, and I'll take care of the baby." And okay, what's going on? Who's sick? And we walk around. We walk around and try to find Andrea and Philip, and they were nowhere to be found. And so we finally caught up with everyone on deck 15, and my phone never rang. It never rang. Once it rang earlier that day, and I couldn't answer. No one would come through. And so that night, about 11:30, 12 o'clock, about 11:30, we were all on deck 15, and all of a sudden my phone rings. And I'm like, now we're out. We've tendered out. And so I'm. How did this happen? Why am I getting this phone call now? And it came through, and I'm like, and it was Zephaniah, and that's Bing Crosby's son, his only son. And I said, "Hey, where's your daddy?" And he says, "Grandma, daddy's dead." And I'm like, "Boy, put your daddy on the phone. Don't be playing with me. It's too late in the night, and you should be asleep." And I said, "Where's your granddaddy?" "He's asleep, Grandma." I said, "Well, put your daddy on the phone." And the phone just clicked. Then Andrea and Philip finally came, and Andrea looked at me, and I looked at her, and she says, "There's been an accident." And I said, "Okay." And she says, Bing had an accident on the jet ski, and he died. He died. And that's when my sisters, they were devastated. They passed out, and Philip passed out. And I'm like, what y'all doing? Get up. It's time to get up. This is not happening. We just went through this 8 months ago. This is not happening. God did not do this to us. Y'all get up. Get Nisi and Angie up and let's go to the room. And we got to the room and they look at me like, it's okay. No, y'all are playing with me. I was in a state of shock.
Yeah.
Because we had just lost Joshua.
Right.
Joshua is
my nephew. That's my sister's child. And they look at me like, no. And Angel was like, might give her something to settle her. And I'm like, I don't need no medicine. And at that point, I was cussing. I was, y'all out of your minds. No, God did not do this to us. This is not happening. And that's when I guess I blanked out and I slept for a day. But he was on the water doing what he loved to do. God.
You were on the water. How ironic.
I was on
You
the
were out
water.
there on the water.
I was on the water. And it's so funny because January 21st, back in December, Ben Crosby had an aneurysm of 19. And I couldn't get to him then because I was dying with COVID. And I refused to go to the hospital because I knew I wasn't going to come out. So I couldn't get to Texas to him then. And to learn afterwards that he literally died on the table when they were able to do surgery on him. And January 21st, he sent me a text message saying, Mom, I think I'm running out of time. And it didn't dawn on me that it wasn't going to be the aneurysm that was going to take him out. And I warned him. I said, boy, don't you be getting on that jet ski. Your heart's been cut wide open. Your chest has been cut wide open. And you've got an artificial vein in your chest. I said, you can't be doing that. You can't be jarring yourself like that. And my word, what do you think you're running out of time? And he says, life. And no, life is not yours to give and it's not yours to take. Live every day as if it's your last. Love hard. And Ben Crosby did love hard. He loved so hard.
And he had a good time too.
He had a good time.
He had a good time.
And I don't know, Joshua's statement was, I didn't come for a long time. I came for a good time. And they lived. And I can't refer to one without the other because our families are just that close. Those boys did in their lifetime. Ben was 32 when he passed away. He did more in his lifetime than I think I'll ever do as long as God has me on this earth. And he affected so many people. The life he lived. And that song made the life I live speak for me. And that song, that Ben lived that life. He lived that life. He called everybody he loved on a regular basis. Just not realizing the 8 days we were on that ship that I would have to be out there. And my sisters wanted to get me home.
Because you found out on the first night of an 8-day cruise.
First night of an 8-day cruise. And I couldn't get to my boy.
Yeah, praise the Lord for.
Well, as a community, when I tell you, even that day, because it happened during the daytime, and we started getting, it was on social media, and people were texting, and just as a community, we were hurting just because we knew
You was out there.
that you were out there on the water. So
It was devastating. It was.
My
Sisters wanted to get me back home, and I'm like, what am I going to do back home? My boy's in Texas. I don't have anybody out in Texas to hold me, to help me. I don't know what to do. Never done this before. Never lost a boy before. Never lost a son. That's the hardest. It's the hardest pill.
It is.
It's unexplainable.
It is.
And this has only been a year and a half, and it's hard. But you get through it day by day. You get through it moment by moment.
tell them that.
You get through it day by day. Every day is not the same. Sometimes you don't want to get up. Sometimes you want to just sit in the bed and cry. But I found out you can't get through it through a pill. You can't get through it through a bottle. It's only through the prayers and supplications of the saints that are praying for you and standing in the gap for you. Because there are times that I can't even pray, don't know what to say. Uh, uh, but you get through it. You get through it day by day, moment by moment, second by second. You get through it.
Jaime.
Mm. She done messed me up. I don't even know I could tell Gus stories. Because it's, whew.
Take your time.
And it's okay. It's okay. This is okay. This is real.
And it's what we want everybody to be able to. There's some people out here who don't like are not able to tell people that they're in the house, that they're crying, that they can't get out of the bed.
Right.
You know, embarrassed to tell people that they're
Right.
still crying, they're still sad, that they ain't able to pray. You know, that sometimes even your faith might you might get a little angry with the Lord because you know what's happened has happened. It happens and it's okay.
Absolutely.
So, after Karan had passed, even though it was 25 years,
Mm.
I couldn't pray for my sons. I had to ask people because I was too scared to ask God to do anything, to take care of them, to do anything. So I would call on the people who I knew that could pray. I said, you know, something going on. Can you pray for Gus? Can you pray for G, my two remaining sons? Because I just couldn't do it. And literally, I didn't do it because I was afraid. But I still had faith and I still believed in God. But I was not going to say a prayer because the prayer that I had said prior
Mm.
with Quran led me to think that, girl, if you say it again, it's going to happen again. So be mindful of what you say and what you speak out. So I would depend on somebody else to pray for my children.
Yeah.
So Gus was, again, he was the same kind of young man, vibrant. He was a preemie. He fought all his life. He fought to get in and he fought going out. But he fought in such a good way.
Hmm.
He was he was he was a self-made. He did what he wanted. He had his own fun. He lived. He really lived. He really lived. And I look back over his life. And I don't say because he was my son, he was very gracious. When you think about honor thy mother and thy father, he was that type of child. When he got sick, he kind of broke down because he was a self-healer. He was diabetic, so he was a self-healer. He was going to heal himself. He was going to do this, this, and that. COVID came, and he had some challenges. He was diabetic, had some challenges. He ended up having to get into a wheelchair, and he was always in excruciating pain for probably about 2 years after he stopped working. When I tell you pain, he was always in pain. I didn't even understand the pain he was in because he would always move, and I was like, what is he moving so much for? And he would tell me, say, I'm moving the pain, and I was like, Jesus. Wow, because he wouldn't take any drugs. He tried, they had given some strong drugs. He was like, they didn't make him feel good. So he wouldn't do that. So he found the avenue of being around his friends that smoked marijuana because he said it eased his pain and it made him go to sleep. So he would go, are you smoking weed? He's like, no, 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 they up there smoking weed. And I'm just smelling it, I'm inhaling it, I'm falling asleep, and I don't feel no pain. I'm like, yo, you is crazy. So he would do that and he would come down. And he just had a lot of challenges. And so I never forget the day, and people were so gracious. We've always had a support system. My community is an amazing community. Gus would because he couldn't walk. So Gus would sometimes, because he was very challenging. Sometimes he would fall in the street, and I call them the boys in the hood. They would carry Gus and bring him upstairs to make sure that he was all right. He was able to call on people to be able to help him in anything that he would do. that particular day when he got sick, he got ill. I was here. My brother came, and we were laughing, and we were all in here. And the nurses came, and he's a guy. Was a pretty nurse, and he said, "Yo, make sure I got my polo, underwear on in case they be coming up in here, and my shirt. Make sure I'm cool." Like, boy, you down here laying down, calling the ambulance. Now ain't nobody thinking about you getting dressed and everything. So we called the ambulance. They came. They took him to one hospital. Again, I went to the hospital, stayed with him that night. The same thing. They put him on a breathing machine just to get the ease his breathing. He was fine, right? Because I'm one to believe if after I check everybody out and I get everybody's name, I'm okay. He was okay. He allowed me to go home. I went home. I worked the next day. They called me on the job and they said they had transferred him to another hospital. I said, transfer him. No, the hospital, in fact, the hospital he was at called me and said he was there and they had him on a ventilator. I said, ventilator? I just left him. He was breathing last night. What do you mean on a ventilator? So
Uh-huh.
I'm at the job. I'm like, this ain't my staff person, my coworker is there. She's looking at me. I'm like, girl, they trying to tell me to go on the ventilator. I said, this ain't real. And I'm all discombobulated. She want to drive me. Again, I try not to panic. I'm not gonna call anybody. I get on the train, New York City train to go up there to the
Mhm.
hospital. Go up to the hospital, get up there. He's on the ventilator. I'm looking at him. He's doing well. Everything is kind of cool, but I'm not understanding what happened. They give me the details. But again, just how merciful God is. I'm telling you, when I tell you
Mhm.
how merciful God is.
Yes, he is.
Um, I called my middle son. I called my knee baby. I said, don't call nobody because everybody gonna panic and they're gonna be all we right up here. But of course he didn't listen. So we had a whole group of people come up, family members and stuff. But God didn't see it fit. Gus
Mhm.
had a whole team. I call them the Grey's Anatomy team. These were young doctors. They were teaching, they were students, and they were learning, they were residents. But they was a team of 12. And I always call them the disciples, and they were amazing. They never gave up. They always was looking for a way to ensure us that he was okay, that he was going to be fine, and he was going to be well. And we had no idea that anything was going to be happening to him, anything. So again, now I'm saying, this is a critical time. So we probably about 10 or 15 days in. People are praying, people are calling me. I'm not praying. I'm asking people to pray. I'm still not praying, y'all. I'm asking people to pray.
Mhm.
He had a cousin that started a whole prayer line. They called it Team Gospel. Pray for Gus. His friends was calling me and saying, Miss Johnny, yo, we don't know how to pray. What should we say? I said, yo, just talk to God. Just ask
Yeah.
him to heal Gus. That's all y'all got to do. They said, we're going to come upstairs. We're going to pray with you. I'm like, Lord, I ain't going to pray. I got to pray with you. And I'm trying, I'm going through.
Mhm.
And God gave us 37 days, right? He gave us
Mhm.
37 days after he entered into the hospital. We were up there, and again, they were amazing. But me and Gus had talked prior, we talked as a family because after Corona passed away, I noticed that again as people we don't read the life insurance policies, we don't read what's going on. And when he passed away, I automatically thought because he was 21 the policy had ceased, but that wasn't so. When I read the policy, it was up until he was 25. So I was like, wow. So me and Gus had already discussed, how we were going to do things. I told him what I needed. He didn't want to be resuscitated neither. He knew not to do the same thing to me. So we talked as a family because I like, yo, we got to get this out in case something happened. So we had that conversation. So I knew how he felt about that. Uh, so we had a big prayer line. I mean, I counted everybody. I had on my phone, I had at least 125 people that I was asking to pray for him, and I was getting them praise reports when things were going on because I had to do that. People were calling from all over just praying. And to date, we had 735 people praying for us, known and unknown people that were praying for him for his healing, right? Because that's what we were asking. So I remember one day he wasn't feeling well and he was in excruciating pain after they took all the drugs from him because he was very upset about the drugs. And the doctors called me about 3 a.m. They said, Gus and he acting up. I said, he acting up. I said, he talking? I thought you had the machine on him. They said, no, he putting his finger up. I said, Gus putting a finger up, like not a nasty finger. They said, yeah, he putting a nasty finger up. I said, put the phone to his ear. I said, Gus, the people taking care of you. You can't be doing that. Don't do that. Stop. So I asked that the doctor got back. They said he refusing to take any drugs. We want to give him something so we can do it, and he not doing it. I said, what is he doing? They say he looking at me like, yeah, so what's up? I get up 3 o'clock in the morning, I go to the hospital. He look at me like, like what? Like that. So I'm looking at him and I'm seeing in his face. So I said, yo, what you gonna do? You gonna thug this out? Because if you gonna thug it out, I'm gonna thug it out with you. So he said, yeah, we're gonna thug it out. So I sat with him first night because we took turns. I never really even went to the hospital that much, to be honest, because people were always there. Uh, and that night I spent the night. I said, yo, you gonna keep me? It's gonna cost me $75 to get an Uber, boy. I ain't doing this. Like he looked at me like, I got money on my PayPal thing. I'm like, look at you. You still worried about his mother still being good. So I sat with him and I held his hand because he was in such pain because all the drugs that came out of his system. And he looked at me the first time I looked at my baby and I could not help him. And I was like, oh God. Still, y'all, I could not pray. I was so upset. I said, Lord, I don't believe this. I got on the phone. I called the prayer line. I said, yo, he's in pain. I said, I need y'all to call somebody. I need y'all to pray for this boy because this is not happening. Because what he wanted me to do, as he squeezed my arm, he wanted me to release his pain. So I had to scream so he could feel. So I was going, ah. He's like, mm-mm. I was going, ah. He said, mm-mm. I had to really release out a pain for him. And when I would do that, so the doctor was coming, they thought something was wrong with me. They was like, you okay? I'm like, he's in pain and he's giving it to me so I can release it for him. And I called the prayer line. They called the pastor. He asked me what's going on. I put the phone to Gus' ear. I said, he can't sleep, he's in pain. I'm sitting there. I said, I can't take it. I want to leave. I can't stay with him. I want to leave. I can't stay with him. They prayed for him and instantly he went to sleep that night. That's the kind of God we serve. He went to,
Yeah,
he went to sleep. The next day we was there. He asked me to call some people. I said, Gus, if I start calling people, they're gonna think something's up. And he wanted me to call everybody, his godparents. I said, yo, Gus, you're gonna scare people. Don't do this. I said, you can't even talk. What you want? But he wanted to hear everyone's voice. And Gus also was the type of child. He called my cousins and aunts and stuff, and I didn't even do it. I didn't even know he was doing that. He called people and just told people that he loved them and he just helped people out. And he was in a motorized wheelchair. He couldn't even walk. He couldn't do much, you know? And I called everybody. And of course, after that, they all got scared. They all upset. So everybody come up to the hospital. So that was that. And that was actually a Sunday. So I said, well, Gus, why you got us all up here? This was a Sunday. Guys all up there. And he looked at us. And my brother just burst out and said, victory. So I sang, victory, victory shall be mine. Victory. And then Gus started going like this, like we was a choir. So we all gathered in there. And he was directing us and pointing to each one who would have a song of, and we all started singing victory. So we loud. This is the intensive care unit. The doctors come in. They said, y'all okay? We said, yeah. They came in and they started, and it was like a whole choir thing. It must have been about 40 of us in the room. We was all singing and just going in, right? The next day, that night, we came home. They wasn't supposed to resuscitate us, and they didn't call me. He coded. They brought him back. He coded again. They brought him back. Then they called me. I said, why did y'all do that? He told y'all not to do that. His body was so frail. So when I got there that morning, I looked, I said, yo, get that thing off him. Because they had that new machine. I said, yo, get that thing off him. That thing is heavy. Like, he can't take that. Like, get that off him. But there was a reason why that happened. That God allowed that. The man said to me, he said, call the people he loved. I was like, wow. I said, there's a lot of people. I said, you sure you want me to call them? There's a lot of people. He said, yeah, call the people. I said, okay. So I called some folks. About 45 or 50 of us got up there. And I told everybody what was going on. I said, look, we're gonna we're gonna release him at 4:30. So y'all need to get up here if y'all want to see him and everything. I said 4:30. So everybody got up. So then, but now in my mind, here I go again, the same situation. I'm saying, dang, it was like a movie. So I went to the doctor and said, yo, hold up. If we release him, is that like he's going to like pass on? They said there's a possibility. Yeah, Johnny may take an hour, may take a couple of days or something.
Mm.
I said, wow. So I went back and I told everybody what was going on. So a few of them punked out. They couldn't take it. They left. They stayed, but they didn't go in the room. So we went back in the room. So it might have been about 10, maybe 15 of us in the room. 4:30, the doctors kept procrastinating. And again, at 5. So 5 o'clock, they came. I said, yo, y'all tell me 4:30. Now y'all running around. Y'all ain't doing it. Like, we ready. Like, come on, we got everybody here. We ready. What's going on? We released him at 5 o'clock, and God graced us with 15 minutes of his life where we were able, I'm telling you, when I tell you the God we serve is mighty, mighty.
Yes, he is.
We were
Jesus.
singing, we were praising, we ushered him into the gates. When I tell y'all guys, he was like, come on, God. Don't pull him in, God. Gus, come on. Don't try to stay back here, Gus. Go on in, move in, Gus. Push in, Gus. Push. He was like, God, now I'm praying. God, pull him into the gates. Don't leave him over there. I said, Gus, go ahead over to the other side. The machine stopped, and we was like, everybody looked like, oh, sweat. He gone, right? No, he did like this. We was like, oh, he back. He back. And so we all screaming and everything. The doctors come in. They said, no, it was like a reflex. But what it was, Gus actually looked up, looked around the room. He wanted to know who was in the room. So I said, yo, he want a roll call. I said, yo, everybody call out your name and let him know who's in here so he can know who's in here. So we're from a tight community. So we had bought him a vet hat, a Brownsville vet hat. Our area's called Brownsville. Bought him a hat, put the hat on him, and everybody did roll call and said who they were. And he just looked and he smiled. And I was the last one. And I told him, I said, I know you worried about me. Yo, Johnny May is gonna be fine. Don't this is between you and God. You make your peace. You do what you gotta do. And I said, this your mama now. I'm giving you my full government. Don't forget me. And I told him, I said, this is Johnny May Robinson, and I love you. And he went to sleep.
Wow.
And
But
he went
this was
and we
what
were
mighty God we serve.
yeah,
Sang
yeah,
Trish.
yeah, yeah.
What a mighty
When I tell
God
you mighty,
we
and it
serve.
was so great, Patricia, is that we were able to sit there, praise God, still talk with the doctors. We literally stayed till they moved, and we literally had a whole church service and repast inside the place. We ordered chicken for everybody, and we just had a whole thing. We sat in there, and we were talking to the other folks and people who were there that had people inside the intensive care unit, and just trying to minister to them also too. And they was like, yo, you just didn't you just lose somebody? Like, yeah, he did just die, but there's a God. Like, there's a God. There is a God. Like, yo, God just blew me away after that. Like, he just blew me away to allow us to see that and to witness that. It gave us a whole nother thing. But what really happened too, when we came back into the community, the younger people were upset, his friends, because Gus was 32. So it was like, yo, I thought you said we had to pray, for healing, and he was gonna be all right, Miss Johnny. We was praying every day and this and that. I said, God did, he honored your prayer. He did heal Gus. It wasn't on this side. It was on the other side. He did just what we asked. It just wasn't what we wanted, but he did what we asked. So he was healed. Totally. because he was able to take him and usher him in just like that. So we were able, even in his death, he was able to witness to a slew of young men his age that probably would have never prayed, probably would have never even knew prayer, but prayed for him just in that time for the
You said they called
37
you and
days.
asked you, Miss Johnny, we don't know how to pray. What we need to say? You said they called you and asked you, Miss Johnny, we don't
Yeah,
know how
Miss
to pray.
Diane, they said, we don't know how to pray, Miss. I said, just talk to God. I said, just tell him, say, heal
Right.
Gus. I said, if y'all don't say nothing, just say, heal Gus. Thank you, Jesus. Do this, Lord. That's all y'all gotta do. I said, you ain't gotta have a long conversation with him. He's not always a conversationalist. You tell him, you talk to him, and he will respond.
Yes.
And that's how I move now. I talk to him, I have conversations with him, and believe it or not, I'm still not praying. I'm talking to God more than I'm praying, technically, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm moving up more to that particular piece, but that's how I have to move to be able to know how faithful he's been to me. My conversations have been faithful. My conversations have been granted. He has been gracious to me. So that's how I move.
I mean, but listen to what you just said though, because that's something to say that you talk to him. Because what I hear is I talk to him, but I don't ask him for anything.
Yeah.
That's what I hear when you say that.
That's deep.
That's very deep because I know I beg all the time. So the fact that you say you talk to him, but you don't ask him for anything, that's something.
No,
So here's the question.
I can't recall. If I do, I can't recall even doing it because again, Gus was the type of person I had to help him, like for the last year. He couldn't really do too much for himself. But Patricia, I don't care what I did. I could put one sock on one foot and one side. And he said, thank you. Thank you. The other side, he said, thank you. I put it straight. He said, thank you. And I look back over his life. I said, yo, this boy was always saying thank you. Like he was, and I told him one day, I said, yo, you don't got to thank me. I'm your mother. Like, I'm good. He said, yes, I do got to thank you. He said, because you could be out here getting you a boo and you taking care of me. I said, you know what? You're right.
You're
You
right.
better say thank you.
So I have a question. I'm going to ask Nettie this question first. Do you understand?
Do I understand?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, you understand?
Grandma used to say, "I'll understand it better by and by."
Come on, that part.
We have to accept what God allows, and we can't change it. Do I understand it? No, I don't. But God giveth and God take it away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. But no, and I did question him. Like, why my boy? I'm sure Mary said, "Why Jesus?"
That's right.
Why?
That's right.
That was he did no wrong.
That's right.
But he took on the weight of the world. So why not BJ? If not BJ, it was going to be somebody else's son.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and why? I don't know why.
Do you still find yourself asking sometimes though still?
Why'd you hurt my heart, Lord? Why'd you do it? To help somebody else. That's not a believer. I'm a believer, and I know I'll get through this day by day. And I do. I get angry, very angry, because that boy. Why not me, Lord? I would have sacrificed my life for my boy, my son. I would have. To allow him to raise his son. It's just not, what's the word I'm looking for, Patricia? It's just doesn't seem right that a mother has to lay her son to rest. It doesn't seem right.
Any child.
No. And my daughter, Alex, asks me, Mama, I know you thought it should have been. No, I don't. No, I don't. I didn't. I never thought it should have been you. I don't know why it was being, but I never wanted it to be you either. Because you're both my children are just as important to me.
Being
And I
work was
love them.
finished.
It was done. It was completed.
Being work was done.
It was done. Yeah,
Life and death is predestined.
absolutely.
We don't know when and we don't know where. The most important thing of all about it is knowing Christ. And as she was talking, as Sister Johnny was talking, I thought about what Tremaine used to tell us. He told me that probably a couple of weeks before. He said, Mama, he said, if I die today or tomorrow, he said, the world don't owe me nothing. Because he went in the military. He stayed 3.5 years in the military. He bumped elbows with a lot of people. When he got out, he lived many, many places. He lived down Florida, Atlanta. He lived many places. He hung out with Tyler Perry. He's been the best friends with this baseball player, that football player. He knew them all. And when it comes to status, nobody knew them better than him. His daddy said somebody asked him about a football player, anybody. So he said, hold on a minute. I don't know. Let me get my baby on the phone. My baby, no. And so I said that to say all of this. When we was with a family that took us in, and I stayed over there the 35 days, 37 days, I think I stayed over there. But anyway, they had their people from their church would come in to see us, and one of the men came in one day, and this is what gives me joy. The woman said, the man was asking him, did he know Christ? And this was after his episode of almost dying and being shot back 3 times, and then in this place. So he said, do you know Christ? He looked at me, he said, is he Christ? I guess he was saying, all that I've been through, do he really think I don't know Christ? Do he really think I don't know God in the pardon of my sin? And he looked at me, he was like, but that's what I get joy out of. I know he had his business speaks. And it, like I say, being time was up, so was Jess's time. Absolutely. Tremaine had so many friends, and at the funeral, I don't know whether you was there, but you couldn't even get in the church because of the life he had lived. He had a mouth. He was gonna say what he wanted to say. He was gonna say it when he got ready to say it.
That was Gus. Yeah.
My pastor said when he was talking, he said when he stayed up and preached too long, he said he see Tremaine get up and go out the door. So he said, Pastor, you know you stay up for too long. Yeah. He was gonna say whatever he had to say. And that's some of the things that I admired about him. And people still to this day, they'll say, oh, you Tremaine's mama. Oh, what a respectful young man. And when people used to be talking to me and Shay about him, they would be talking about how nice and how kind he is. She said, my mama, who they talking about? Because he could get rambunctious, baby, but a great kid. Will give you the shirt off his back.
Nancy Young says, God bless each of you. I feel your pain. I do know that if it wasn't for God's grace and mercy, I would have lost my mind. Now I can smile and say, Lord, I thank you because I will see my son again. Glory to God.
Glory.
I'm so grateful. I'm gonna let is there any words of wisdom that you have for not just someone who, because you two have actually, Bink was sick at one time too. So what encouragement can you give to a mom who's sitting with the son or a child at all right now who's sick?
Just continue trusting God, continue to keep your faith. And I know people tell you that it's hard, but if you trust God, it is not hard. You will have your days, you will go through your changes, but when you settle down and you realize it's all God, it's all God, and He's got us, and He's going to continue to keep us. And no matter what you go through, just remember, God got us. And He is in control. No matter what we think or how we look at it, God is in total control, because He said the full world is here. Everything that's here, He's the one that planted all this stuff. From day one, it was about us. So even in the end, it's still about us. It's about us and us giving him glory and praise for all that he's done for us. And people tell me all the time, how do you go through what you go through? How do you stay? How do you do that? Through the love of God, knowing who God is. And my advice to anybody today is make sure you have a relationship with God. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about you. As long as you know you got a relationship with God, He will take you through trials, He will take you through tests. But in the ultimate end, you're going to be the one to win because the victory is in Him. And it's all in Christ Jesus.
And teach your children how to pray.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very
Teach
much
your
so.
children how to pray.
Very much so.
I encourage people to, again, I am so thankful for memories. I'm so thankful as children growing up. I'm thankful for my grandparents and my parents because we grew up as a family and we still to this day lives as a family. Gus left for us August 25th, and every 25th of the month we get together, we talk, we laugh, we dance, we cry, we bring in somebody if we need some help, if we need therapy, we get together. Sometimes people say, what y'all doing on the 25th? We might be bowling, we might be a movie, we eating, but we still making memories
Memories,
in his
yes.
name. The memory, that thing just eases me so much. And people say, like, how you do it. It ain't me.
Yeah.
God knows it ain't me because I want to
It's
fall
something
out,
we do about
roll
it.
over, and all that
If you
stuff. But
say,
God is a keeper. And if we really say, I can't say I trust God and then flake on him. That
say
ain't
that.
that ain't gonna work for me. I can't say that. So I gotta trust him that he's gonna keep me so that I can be an encourager to encourage somebody else. Because again, for me, sometimes where I'm at in New York, there's always an incident and it gets crazy sometimes and people are forever calling me. I'm like, yo, don't they know I just lost somebody? Like, yo, but they call me, yo, Miss Johnny, you gotta come. Yo, Miss Johnny, they need to talk to you. I'm like, wow. So I cannot not trust God because I still gotta like move.
And doesn't mean that some days you might not see Betty, Johnny Ray,
Right.
or Nettie, and they might not be having the greatest day.
Mhm.
And that is okay because we still, I mean, it might be some of just the smallest things
Yeah.
That's
that
right.
trigger some of the greatest memories.
Yes.
And I
Sometimes
didn't
I
think
sit
I
here
could
and
get it.
sometimes how y'all sit in the house, you
Because
just
this
sit in
is
the
his
house and just see a
anniversary.
picture.
What
You just
one
sit in the house
picture,
and you
right?
see a picture. Yeah,
Yeah.
one picture, and you be looking at like, yo, really? Or even for
Yeah.
me, sometimes I'm on the subway, and I'm like, because God has been, I'm telling you another thing. I asked God, so I said, yo, God, I can't cry right now. Can you give me a couple of days? I gotta do something. I can't break down right now. And he honors me, yo. Y'all laughing, but he has honored me, and
Yeah, he keeps you. I understand
I am
totally.
so glad. That's what I'm saying. He's a keeper. Because some days I'm like, because if I really go, it's gonna be ugly. I get on the New York City subway, and somebody come by me, and I just look, and I'm like, "Oh no, not on the subway, not the crowded New York City. You gonna really do this to me?" He said, "Yeah, because you told me to give you a couple of days." I'm like, "Oh, man, this thing." And when I tell you, I was done. Oh my God! One lady. Now New York is crazy. They saw me. I was done. One lady said, "She said you all right." I said, "No, I ain't all right. I ain't all right. I ain't all right. Not today. I'm not all right. I'm not all right." And she rode with me. I cried for four. I cried 5 stops, and the lady comforted me. So
It's
yeah,
interesting sometimes.
he
Yes, he will.
Yeah. And it's the breakdown, like, and like my husband and my son died a year and 8 months apart. And
wow.
he went through a lot after his dad died, and he was funny in that, and the Holy Spirit, God will try you. When you say you trust Him, He will try you
Yes,
because
he will.
yeah, he'll try you because when my son had a totally nervous breakdown after his dad died. So one day I was doing something and I knew it was the Holy Spirit because I knew it was nothing else, but not telling me to slap my child, hit my child. So I hit him, and the Holy Spirit said, hit him again. Yeah, my son was 6'5" and he
Yeah.
weighed I did.
They made it right.
And so the spirit say, hit him again. So I'm like, now really, Jesus. So I did it again. And so this is what he said to me. Mom going on some Wednesday. Yeah, so beautiful memory.
Yeah.
It was so funny. He said, Mom goes on Wednesday.
Yeah, you said today is the anniversary.
This month, my son died February the 14th.
Wow.
I was sitting in Baptist Hospital this time 5 years ago. But it's been a walk, it's been a journey, but with God, all things are possible. And through Christ Jesus, you know, who strengthened us, we can do anything.
Absolutely.
We can do it. You can do it. So if you think you can, you're gonna have your days, your down days, you're gonna have your up days, you're gonna have your normal days. But and even with me, when he first passed away, I could not sleep. And they tried like she said, what a mighty God we serve. They tried every sleep medication there was to put me on. Neither one of them would make me sleep. I take them things, get up and go to work.
You can't sleep it away.
You cannot sleep it away.
No.
And
Sleep,
so I just said they kept giving it to me, so they in a box now at the house.
What encouragement do you have?
My encouragement to mothers and fathers that have lost their children, sons, daughters, make every moment count. Never go a moment. You, Miss Johnny Mae and Aunt Betty, you had time to love on your babies while in the hospital, and not your first one, Miss Johnny Mae, but I did have that moment to love on Bing, you know. But take every moment, wherever your
that's right.
child is in their lives. Take that moment. Don't ever take a moment for granted to tell that child, I love you regardless of where you are.
Right.
I love you regardless of what you do.
In spite of.
And Mary went all the way. She
She
went all the way with Jesus. And
Mhm.
I'm going all the way. And I'm and just love on them. Love on your family.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
make
That's right.
memories. You know, I looked at Bing's last picture. It was on May 12th when he came to pick up his son to take him back to Texas. I looked at that picture at first and I said, I hate that picture. I hate that picture. Because that was my last picture of him. That was the last picture I saw. And then I saw his very last picture hours before he passed away. It was on the jet ski. And he was posting up like, I'm getting ready.
Yeah,
I'm getting ready. So take every moment to love on them. And dance as if it's your last dance. Love as if it's your last time to tell them that you love them. And most importantly, impart Jesus in them.
That's right.
And they may not catch a hold right then, but they'll catch a hold one day.
Come on, that's right.
I believe it.
If you put it in them, it's there.
It's there.
And it's not going anywhere.
But Trish, to the mothers and the fathers, just know these daddies are just as hurt, and we can't escape that they're going through their grieving, and everybody grieves differently.
And a lot of times that can destroy a marriage.
It can destroy an entire family.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to bring on some daddies next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Listen, thank you, first of all, to each one of you who were brave enough to come on here tonight and share your stories and be encouraging to women and dads, families who are dealing with loss or somebody whose child may be sick and in the hospital. You know, I always say when you call somebody, call a mom or just whoever may be at the hospital with a relative, and you're the person that's calling, keep in mind that nobody wants to say, you know, oh, they look real bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, people get upset, like, I asked how they was doing, and she told me fine. But nobody wants to, and then like you said, you got 50 people calling. So just imagine you being that mom sitting there in the hospital looking over your baby. And you got 50 people calling you. Now you got to say 50 times,
Right.
oh yeah, he's not doing good.
Be mindful.
Yeah, be mindful of that when somebody says, and in our hearts, we believe, you know, we still praying. We
Oh,
still
yeah,
got
that's
faith.
it.
So when we say fine, that's what we mean. Is they really doing fine? The last thing I want to leave with everybody tonight is just like they said, it's the memories. You prepare for somebody's death from the day they hit the earth. Absolutely. Every time you spend time with them, every time you talk to them, talk nice to them, just take out some of the negative that we are doing with each other, and let's start to build each other up and love on each other as a family, as a parent, as a child to a parent. Every single day, make those memories, take those pictures. Supposed to be looking at the camera. Make those memories, take those pictures, go to the movies, go bowling, plan those family vacations. If you live out of town and your mama is miles away, I'm gonna need you to plan some trips to get there to your mama. Mama, if you retired, I want you to get out the house and go travel up there and see your kids and your grandkids. We got to make those unions happen. We got to make those memories. We have FaceTime available now. We can FaceTime our children and our family members and keep in contact with them. Do something. Make some memories with your families. Don't forget that you start preparing for death at the time of birth.
Yeah,
all right. So we're gonna go ahead and pray. Ms. Jenna, you want to pray us out?
I'm going to talk to God.
Okay, let's talk us
Okay.
out.
So hey God, this was really good. And I am so grateful and so thankful for these women here that have shared the story of their children, which wasn't easy, God. You know it wasn't easy because you know how we feeling. Like we ain't gotta tell you. You know what's going on. You know what's happening. But we are so gracious and so thankful. Thank you to our host for calling upon us to be able to be encouragers to other mothers, others who have lost. But one thing, God, you are mighty and you are good, good, good. And we trust you. I can't say I don't trust you, God. I know because I know you got me. I know you got me. And I'm ever so grateful. Thank you. Right? And I'm gonna holler at you later on tonight before I go to bed. In Jesus' name,
All right,
amen.
that's right. Amen. All right. Listen, thank you. We love y'all. God bless y'all and good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.